Okay, so this is an update to my last video. Please do not zoom in on my gigantic blemish. Sorry, I just started off that. So this is an update. I Googled where I could take the prescription pad to be disposed of, and Google said that I can deliver it to hand it over to a pharmacy. So a pharmacy is a little closer than a police station for me right now. So I'm gonna go and bring it. And I'm gonna record the whole thing. So let's go. Okay, thank you. So, I was going through a box of old photos, and this is like 15 years old. My mom had stole this from a hospital, and I wanted to turn it in. Googled, like, I could bring it to a pharmacy. So, I'll turn it for you. Alright, thank you so much. Have a good day.
So, girl, Gypsy has been on one lately, like full-time job posting, full-time job trying to rewrite history, and I'm just sitting here like, are we all watching the same timeline? Because the math is not mathing, and I need to walk y'all through this because it's actually wild. She drops this whole long caption the other day, right? Starts off with these throwback photos of her as a little kid, some cute school pics, some normal baby moments, and then boom, hospital bed, tubes, the whole thing. And she's like, I'm not posting this for sympathy, just for awareness about Munchausen by proxy. Okay, cool, awareness is great. But then she goes into this whole explanation about how the caregiver starts exaggerating symptoms, making up stuff the kid never said, pushing for unnecessary tests, and how over time the child gets trapped in this world where being sick is the only way they get love or attention.
Gypsy Rose and her bestie posted that she found a prescription pad in a box full of pictures. And this wasn't quite the gotcha they thought it was. I would like to draw your attention to these numbers right here. That is an identification code, and it tells you things like where it was made. But this is the most important part. It is the month and the year which it is printed. While I stand by, if it was stolen, it was likely Gypsy that stole it, because she herself has admitted that she was a thief. And we've heard no stories of Dee Dee stealing stuff. However, I'm not inclined to believe that this was stolen after a little more research. And here's why. In October of 2007, a new tamper-resistant prescription law went into effect. October is the 10th month of the year, and this is from the 9th month of the year. So the more likely scenario here is that the doctors knew this was going into effect, and they knew that Gypsy was a little slow. So they thought, you know what, we'll give her this to play with, because it won't be able to be used. Additionally, if Dee Dee had ever tried to get prescriptions that she should not have gotten, it would have been reported. And we have never seen any such report. Not only have we not seen a report, we've never even seen an investigation. So because of the identification code and the date on it, I'm inclined to believe that this was never stolen. It was given. Because the doctors probably were like, well, you know what? Here's something she can play doctor with at home. But little did they know, Gypsy wasn't into playing doctor. Gypsy was more into this stuff, particularly being the beast instead of the cutesy little princess.
And I'm reading it like, okay, Gypsy, that's literally the textbook definition. We been knew. But here's where my eyebrow went up. She acts like she was just this helpless little baby who had no idea what was going on until one day she magically woke up at 23 and realized everything was fake. Like, no ma'am. Because here's the thing, and I'm going to say it nicely, but I'm going to say it. Actual MBP victims, they're isolated. Like, locked away, no internet, no friends, no sneaking out to meet boyfriends, kind of isolated. Meanwhile, Miss Girl at 19, 20, 21 years old is wheeling herself to the computer, making secret Facebook accounts, talking to grown men, asking her little 9-year-old cousin to look up dudes online for her, sneaking out the house, having full-blown secret relationships. Like, girl, be so for real.
So for those of you that don't know what this is and what this is all about, so in my documentary, Christy had talked about finding a prescription pad underneath my mom's bed when they went to go get some of our stuff from the old Habitat house. So until now, it had never been photographed or seen in documentaries or anything. And so I recently came across it in a box of old photos. To my knowledge, it has never been used. I don't know. I mean, I can at least say there's no documentation of my mom using it. I don't know when she took it. It would have had to been between years 2006 to 2015, but it is legit. It's real. It's not like this reflective. on the back. So I don't want to keep it. I don't want it in my house. I am taking full opportunity to document its existence. But a bigger conversation needs to be had about how was she able to even get this? So I might be acting on emotion right now because it's like I've heard of it, but like to actually see it, it's a whole different other ballgame.
You knew. You knew you could walk. You knew the wheelchair was props half the time. There's literal footage of you hopping off the porch into the snow and then pretending your legs don't work when someone might see. Royal mashed potatoes moment, anyone? We all saw it. And now she wants to post these awareness essays like she's the poster child for innocent MBP victims. Sweetie, no. You graduated from victim to volunteer a long time ago. That's the part that's hard to watch. Then she tries to keep pushing this narrative that Nick is basically the mastermind, and she was just this poor little manipulated baby who got talked into the worst thing ever. Nick, Nick, Nick. All day, every day. Girl, you sound like a broken Nickelodeon commercial at this point.
Is this a prescription pen?
It sure is.
I'm going to discuss this video and another thing. And I'm not going to give Bree any attention because just last week she came on this app and she said, I'm no longer going to talk about Gypsy Rose in this case. And then she turned around and did. But she's not important. What is important is Gypsy wants us to believe that this prescription pad just randomly was found. And she wants us to believe without questioning that her mother is the one that stole it. But Gypsy girl, wasn't it you that stole lingerie? Wasn't it you that was stealing baby clothes? Wasn't it you that stole the fucking weapon used to take your mother's life? And most importantly, you stole your mother's life. You are a thief, baby girl, so you likely stole this shit too. Additional to being a thief, you are a liar. Because wasn't it you who came up on this internet, wrote in your books, said in your documentaries, my mommy never celebrated the holidays? Bitch, this would be considered celebrating a holiday. Let's couple that with the fact that you wrote yourself in the description, this was my first picture with Santa. So it wasn't your last? Show me proof your mama stole this. Undeniable proof it was your mama. And not you slipping it underneath your leg in your wheelchair like you did those items at Hobby Lobby and Walmart.
And I'm sorry, but comparing Nick to your mom, saying they're basically the same level of evil, I'm not buying it. Nick was a whole autistic 23-year-old who thought he was saving his Disney princess girlfriend. You catfished him for months, love-bombed him, told him your mom was going to kill you, sent him the knife, gave him the exact instructions, recorded the aftermath like it was a cute couple vlog, and then turned around and said, he did it, I was scared. Like clockwork. Remember that video they posted literally the night of? The Hi Tinkerbell Brownie one. If you slow it down, you can literally hear Nick say "smurder" under his breath because he's trying to hint to the camera that this was not his plan. He's sitting there looking dead inside while she's giggling and making sex jokes hours after her mom was stabbed to death. Tell me that's coercion victim behavior. I'll wait.
I love toy shopping.
Gypsy Rose Manson seems to think that wearing a candy cane sweater will hide who she really is. Let me read you something from FBI profiler Roy Hazelwood. The most dangerous psychopaths are the ones who look like your dentist, your mailman, your deacon. They weaponize normalcy, which is their greatest tool. They learn to mimic normal behavior like actors in a play, fooling even the close associates who would never suspect the evil underneath. A seasonal sweater does not hide the bloodstains of your mother. Gypsy.
And now we get to the weekend post that actually made my jaw drop. So Gypsy and her little squad apparently decided it was prove my mom was evil o'clock, because they start dropping all this evidence through friends, because of course she posts everything by proxy now, she learned from the best. First they put out old credit card statements from like 6 months before everything happened, showing Dee Dee had debt. And Gypsy's caption is basically, see, my mom was broke, that's why she faked everything. But then, the same friend posts photos from that exact time period of them at Disney World. Like full Disney trip, smiling, ears, the whole thing. And the money for that trip came from Gypsy's dad, Rod, who was sending child support. So Dee Dee took money meant for Gypsy and gave Gypsy an amazing trip. Where's the scam? Where's the using my kid to grift Habitat for Humanity and Make-A-Wish? Because all I'm seeing is a mom using dad's money to give her daughter a vacation. That's literally just co-parenting, Gypsy.
Okay, so here we have Rod Blanchard and Mia Blanchard, obviously on some type of trip, looks like a hunting trip. They're spending time together. So I know Gypsy Rose saw this and was like, what the frick? Because does Rod take Gypsy Rose anywhere? I mean, do we see that? No. Do you know why? Because Rod favors Mia.
Then they post a prescription pad from Children's Mercy Hospital, allegedly stolen by Dee Dee back in like 2006 or whatever to write fake scripts. And Gypsy's out here filming herself being like, look at this, do better, hospitals. Girl, you're not even supposed to have that. That's evidence. That's a controlled item. Why is it in your drawer in 2025? And why are you waving it around on TikTok like it's a cute throwback? The hospital switched to electronic prescribing years ago, you yelling at ghosts at this point. Also, if Dee Dee really had a whole stolen prescription pad and was filling fake scripts, why was she dragging you to doctor appointment after doctor appointment for years? Why not just write whatever and go pick it up? Again, the math is not mathing.
Cannot get more than one wish from one organization. The rest, when I was 20, the year before the crime happened, my mother paid for that trip. Now, granted, that was money that my dad was giving my mom for child support.
Gypsy just said that her mom paid for that trip with her dad's child support, right? We all just heard that, right? Because watch this next clip.
Gypsy looks awfully young in that Make-A-Wish photograph. As we know, you're only entitled to one Make-A-Wish trip per lifetime. So here's proof that Dee Dee did pay herself for their other trip.
Well, my goodness, what were those? Credit card statements? Gypsy! That's not child support!
And then, the cherry on top, they post this adorable Christmas photo of little Gypsy on Santa's lap, all blonde curls and smiles, after Gypsy has spent years swearing up and down that Dee Dee never celebrated holidays, that she didn't even know Santa was real until prison. So which one is it, babe? Because you can't have the "my mom deprived me of everything" storyline and the "here's me living my best Christmas life" photo in the same breath. Look, I'm not caping for Dee Dee. What she did was horrific, allegedly forging records, unnecessary procedures, keeping her kid doped up on stuff she may not have needed. That's all gross and abusive. But Gypsy has spent a decade selling this narrative that she was this completely helpless, brainwashed, friendless little angel who only escaped because a boy saved her.
The nurses or the doctors of this hospital is even looking at this right now, watching this video.
You're in like I know of you.
This needs to be your highest priority.
Are you really telling the nurses what their priorities should be?
This is just as important as your badge, as your license. You do not leave this for people to find.
And maybe you shouldn't leave your baby in the cart while you put your camera inside the car and then videotape yourself unloading your groceries while your baby's like a mile away in the cart. I'm just, since we're giving out advice.
Or whatever. Like, this is not a toy.
I guess you know a thing or two about playing with toys.
This is medical equipment. And my mind is blown. Like, my mind is just blown, okay?
Okay.
I think I'm within my right to be upset. I really am. I think people need to have these conversations. Doctors, nurses, whatever, if you're watching, like, do not leave this for people to get. Like, it may be too late for me, but do better. Like, for real. Be fucking for real. Do better.
Be so fucking for real, Gypsy Rose Blanchard. Be so fucking for real. Do better.
And then every single week, something new drops that pokes another giant hole in that story. The secret boyfriends, the able-bodied sneaking around, the planning, the Facebook posts bragging about the crime, the spending the insurance money on Amazon while her mom's body was still in the house. It just keeps piling up. And the craziest part? She got 8.5 years for premeditated murder. 8.5. Most people get more time for weed. And now she's out here living her influencer fantasy, married, talking about babies, posting stolen evidence like it's aesthetic vintage memorabilia. Like, the cognitive dissonance is loud. Anyway, I just needed to get all that out because every time I think we've reached peak Gypsy revisionism, she drops another carousel and I'm like, okay, wait, hold up. So yeah, that's where we're at. And the internet lost it, obviously, because nobody has ever seen this thing before. Christy has been telling the story for years. Oh, I found it under the bed when we cleaned out the pink house. But every time someone asked for a photo, she was like, I turned it over to the lawyer. I don't have it. Cool, cool. So how did it end up in Gypsy's memory box? Either somebody's been lying this whole time or... Girl, did you keep it as a souvenir? Because that's a choice.
Never went out there. For one thing, my mother never let me outside. There was never a moment during the day when Mama would ever say, let's get outside and get some sun on our face. Never. Second, I'm afraid of bugs.
Everybody, this is Gypsy Rose reporting from Aurora, Missouri. I am about to dive off our porch into the pile of snow.
That's weird. Gypsy Rose says that she was never allowed outside and she wasn't allowed to have the sun touch her face. But in this clip, Gypsy's flying off a porch into a pile of snow.
Gypsy? Gypsy? Do you want to go play outside?
Oh wait, that's weird. That's straight out of Dee Dee's mouth that she's asking if she wants to go outside and play. Let me know what you guys think. All those pictures and videos say elsewise to me, but do you think that Gypsy really was not allowed to have the sun touch her face?
Now, allegedly, this pad is from like 2007-ish. Super thin, only a few sheets left. No DEA number pre-printed, the whole thing. And people are screaming, see? Dee Dee stole it to write fake scripts. But, hold up. If Dee Dee really had a whole stolen prescription pad, why was she still dragging Gypsy to appointment after appointment after appointment? Like, if you've got the golden ticket to free meds, why are you still sitting in waiting rooms for hours? And what exactly was she forging? Asthma inhalers, seizure meds? Because that's literally all Gypsy was ever prescribed. Dee Dee was the one on the heavy-duty painkillers, not Gypsy. And Gypsy herself has said 1,000,000 times her mom was never addicted, never abused pills. So, what was the master plan here? It doesn't add up. And then you've got people online trying to say, well, after the microdeletion diagnosis in 2008, the hospital visits slowed down because Dee Dee had the pad and didn't need doctors anymore.
Like this, where Gypsy's sitting right beside Dee Dee, drinking eggnog, celebrating the Happy New Year's. Like this one, where she's sitting right there with her damn sippy cup, drinking with no lid on. She is with a Coke stuck down in her damn wheelchair. There's another one. She is at the hospital with a thing of milk, and what is that, some fruit? She is in her damn wheelchair with them legs bent in front of people with juice laying in her fucking lap with nothing in it. You think people were using Gypsy as a trash can, just throwing their juice boxes there? Wouldn't it make more sense that Gypsy drank the hell out them apple juices and sat on her lap till she could get to the garbage? There's her posted up real big at a little fucking tea party with her cupcake. Here Gypsy is in the hospital eating mashed potatoes. Not royal mashed potatoes, but still mashed potatoes. You got her some Jell-O. There's another thing of mashed potatoes, some juice. You think all this food was just decoration? What about this one where she's standing right beside Dee Dee with a cup, a straw, looking happy as hell, honey? Here's another one where she's got cake. And what else? Milk. What do you think she was about to do with the fork? Stab herself or eat the cake? I'm just asking.
Excuse me? That is the wildest reach I've heard all year. First of all, actual MVP doesn't work like that. The whole disorder is about attention from medical staff, the sympathy, the hero mom performance. A prescription pad doesn't scratch that itch. Second, the microdeletion diagnosis actually explains so much of what was going on. Failure to thrive, swallowing issues, GI problems, low muscle tone, feeding aversion. Like, it literally lines up. And once doctors had a genetic reason, yeah, maybe they stopped looking for a million other things because they finally had an answer. That's not proof of fraud, that's proof of finally getting a correct diagnosis.
She also told people that she didn't have number candles on her cake, but look right there, a number candle. Do you really think that Gypsy was having these birthdays? People are at the damn parties. She wasn't being allowed to eat the cake. Is that what you really believe, ma'am? She also told us, oh, I couldn't have Barbies. I couldn't have candles. Which was obviously a fucking lie. So do you really think she wasn't eating this cake anime? In fact, let's go a little deeper. Now, this is Gypsy in her mom's damn kitchen. You see cakes, you see Pepsi. You can see quite a bit of stuff is laying out. And all kind of Pepsi. There's a little thing of juice right there, more Pepsi. You know what I don't see? Gypsy Rose's Ensure. You know why? Because Gypsy Rose's Ensure that she swears up and down, that's the only nutrients I was allowed to have. I only got to eat through my dating tube. That shit is way back there. Let me get the picture. There's that white shelf with everything in the world stacked on it. And look at the fucking dust. And there is Gypsy Rose's cans of formula. The dust don't make you question if she was using it. The fact that none of the plastic is popped. Even on the side, the plastic isn't popped. There is not one can of this formula, this Ensure, missing out of this stack. None of it's missing. So you can get a really good look. Again, no can of Ensure is missing from this pack.
But the funniest part, the same people pushing the evil mastermind Dee narrative are the ones who worked overtime to build it in the first place. We're talking stepmom Christy running around like a stage mom the second the crime happened, calling the sheriff's department, jumping in Facebook groups, texting producers, demanding script changes, sending shady messages to Joey King like, "How dare you play Gypsy without meeting her first? Girl, relax." She was messaging Lifetime writers, Hulu writers, everybody. You better tell the story the way we want, or else. And suddenly, all these documentaries start dropping right before Nick's trial and Gypsy's plea deal, like clockwork. Funny how that timing works. And don't even get me started on the medical record situation. Apparently, the Mommy Dead and Dearest team is the one who actually requested a bunch of Gypsy's records from the hospital and then handed copies straight to the family and the defense attorney on a cute little USB drive. Like, the documentary crew was doing the lawyer's homework. That's how tight this whole operation was.
Why none of the cans are missing? Because she was eating with her mom. That's why the bowls are impaired. If you look in the freezer, these big bowls are where Dee Dee cooked and then froze the leftovers. She was eating with her fucking mother. If you don't believe me? Head over to Reddit. They have all the links to all the evidence that was from Gypsy Rose's case. I've never said that crazy shit wasn't happening in that house. It obviously was. It was not just Dee Dee, ma'am. Let's not fucking forget that Gypsy Rose ran up on her mother with a BB gun, unloaded the clip, and then was double-fisted with weaponry, as Gypsy says, and had a dagger in the other hand. Let's also not forget that Dee Dee, Gypsy Rose's mother, covered Gypsy Rose's tracks when she shot her, supposedly. You know, Gypsy says her mom is the one who did all the capital letters. This one right here isn't in capital letters. So Gypsy hopped online and then made up a whole fucking lie about how her mama got shot. Whole time it was Gypsy. Do you think this lady wouldn't lie to us and tell us shit like, oh, I couldn't have cake? Girl, be fucking for real. You better hop on Reddit and get to digging in those damn links that have all the evidence against Gypsy. That's going to show you exactly why Gypsy Rose did not go to trial. But that's just my opinion for entertainment purposes only, honey. But this is not alleged. That was Gypsy Rose's shit. She did that shit, honey.
And somehow, even with all those records, nobody ever found proof that Dr. Bernardo or anybody actually called CPS like they claimed. Look, I'm not here saying Dee Dee was Mother of the Year. Keeping meticulous lists of medications and surgeries isn't automatically sinister. Lots of parents of chronically ill kids do that. But shaving her kid's head for sympathy photos and grifting charities, gross. Allegedly taking money that was meant for medical bills and spending it on Disney trips and whatever else, not cute. But the leap from bad mom who exaggerated and grifted to evil mastermind who poisoned and tortured her daughter for decades with zero evidence is a canyon. And a lot of that canyon was built by the same people who are now shocked, I tell you, that Gypsy has the prescription pad sitting in her house like a trophy.
See hoes Blanchard over here lying on her mama again, saying that woman had Munchausen by proxy when we all know she did not. My only rebuttal to this girl at this point is, okay, find a lawyer. Find a lawyer. Do that medical malpractice lawsuit you've been talking about. When you do that, then maybe I'll think, oh yeah, her mom had it. But otherwise, no, she ain't had it. She don't have that. Well, she was never diagnosed with that. You are really irking my nerves, girl. Better yet, why don't you get Dr. Feldman or one of these other doctors that have gone on the record and said that your mom has it? Get them to say it again. Like, In 2025, 2026, get them to say it again. Let them look over your stuff and get them to say it again. Otherwise, stop with that Munchausen stuff, because you know that's a lie. When Wikipedia says you lying, girl, you lying. You're lying. Go get your money, since you have so much of it. Get your lawyer and go prove it in court and get your life. Get them to fix your teeth. Come on, girl. You are so abused. Then get your life, get your money. I'd like to apologize for the unhinged rant, but I'd also like to thank y'all for watching.
At this point, it's giving, we created the monster, and now we're mad she's doing exactly what we taught her. Because the narrative that got Gypsy 8 years, and parole, and fame, and TikTok fame, and a docuseries, and a book deal, and everything else, wasn't some organic public opinion. It was carefully curated. And now every time a new piece of the puzzle pops up that doesn't fit the fairy tale, suddenly it's evidence again.
So I'm spending my Saturday night going through old photographs. I'm looking for a very specific photo. But if anybody watched my documentary, if you remember Christy saying that she found a prescription pad, well, look what I found. It's still there. That's wild. I just want to get my pictures.
Okay, I'll get you the pictures.
Okay.
I want to run.
You know I got more stuff. You gonna get my dresses and my stuff that's in my closet?
Nope. Pictures.
Cool. Alright, that's the main important things.
This was probably close to the first year or two when she was in a wheelchair. The last 14 years in a wheelchair.
I couldn't imagine.
So, girl, I just gotta ask. If Gypsy spent years saying her own mother exploited her for attention and free stuff, what exactly is she doing now? I mean, I'll just leave that question hanging. The comparison is right there. And with Ken working some offshore job, allegedly gone for weeks at a time, it's just her and the baby most days, which makes the shift even more obvious. She went from, don't even say my child's name, she's a minor, you're violating her privacy, to, here's Aurora in every post, just with an emoji slapped on. And not to be funny, but emojis don't actually stop people from saving or editing photos. Once it's online forever. There are apps that can literally remove emojis. So for someone who claimed to be fiercely protective, this whole change feels suspiciously convenient.
So here's the thing, Gypsy. Let's talk about this. You can post all the baby pictures you want of yourself being quote unquote normal, which we all know you never really were, and all the baby pictures of you while you were in the hospital, because we know you needed those medical tests and procedures because you were having symptoms of your microdeletion, and nobody knew what microdeletion was back then. So they were trying to figure out what was causing all of your symptoms. And your friend Sheena can post all the posts that she wants about what Dee Dee did wrong, and Dee Dee did this, and Dee Dee did that, and Dee Dee paid for the other Disney trip. Gypsy only got one. Well, none of us are saying that you got more than one free trip to Disney. What we're saying is, while you were at Disney, you were willingly and purposefully acting like you were a mentally challenged little girl, and you knew you were 23 years old.
Now, as much as I'm not exactly a Gypsy fan, you don't need more than 2 of my videos to know that, I will be fair. I raised 4 kids basically back to back, and my husband was deployed a lot, so I was constantly doing the grocery run alone with a toddler and a baby on each hip. I get how chaotic it can be. There's no perfect way to load kids, groceries, cots, all that. But here's where I'm side-eyeing a little. In Gypsy's viral grocery video, the whole thing could have been handled so much safer. If she wasn't parked right next to a cart return, she should have put the phone down. Girl, nobody needed a cinematic grocery loading moment. She left her baby in the cart across the parking lot from her, with her purse sitting right there. And she's turned away from both of them, trying to get the perfect aesthetic shot. In that situation, a person could have taken that cart, baby, purse, everything, and she wouldn't have even noticed until it was too late. So yeah, first time mom or not, some of these safety choices, the car seat straps, the way she handles the cart, all of that, go beyond learning as you go. There's a pattern, and it's worrying.
You knew you were not mentally challenged. You knew you weren't physically incapable. You knew you could walk. You knew all of it, but yet you still pretended, so you were part of the grift. There's nobody here that thinks Dee Dee was 100% innocent. Obviously, she was running some sort of a con, but the problem is you were part of it, and you refused to take your part. It's always somebody else's fault, the doctor's fault, your lawyer's fault, Nick's fault, Dee Dee's fault. Let's go so far now. Ryan's fault, Christy's fault, Rod's fault. What is Gypsy's fault? We all know, but until you are willing to admit it, you'll never be able to move on in life. If you would have came out of prison and just shut your mouth and moved on, none of this would be happening, but you had to keep flapping your gums and keep talking and trying to convince everybody of your innocence. Well, now you're getting all the attention that you wanted. So come on, Gypsy, we're waiting for you to eat some more royal mashed potatoes and show us what you're all about.
So, Gypsy Rose Blanchard decided this was the week to go live, again, and try to explain away every single discrepancy that people have been side-eyeing for months. And girl, the explanations, they're giving Spirit Halloween clearance rack. Like, they're trying, but nobody's buying it. I'm not even gonna lie. I sat there with my popcorn, my notes app open, my eyebrow permanently raised, watching her and Bree do this whole damage control tour. And the more she talked, the more I was like, baby, this is not the defense you think it is.
One thing I cannot stand is Gypsy tries to blame Nick. This whole entire time, she is blaming Nick and blaming her mother in her crime. It's always Nick, Nick, Nick. She starts to sound like the Nickelodeon, where they're like, Nick, 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 Nickelodeon. That's what she sounds like, because she is nonstop blaming Nick. Now, I also want you to realize that she compares Nick and Dee Dee, her mother, that they are similar. I'm sorry, Gypsy, but I'm not buying that one bit, okay? You manipulated Nick from the very beginning. You had this planned out, I think, before Nick became a part of the picture. And y'all can hate on me for that, but I believe it's true.
First of all, the book. The audiobook. The I didn't proofread it thoroughly enough excuse. She's like, oh, I went into the studio blind, had to read the errors verbatim. Publisher said we'll fix it in the reprint. Tee-hee. Girl, you had co-authors. You had an agent. You had months. And we're supposed to believe nobody, not one single person, caught that the Bengals were playing the Saints instead of the Chiefs. That's not a typo. That's a whole different football game. Like, come on.
Because Nick did not want to do the crime. You manipulated him into thinking that it was okay, knowing he knew it wasn't. He said he didn't want to do this. He just wanted to run away. And you forced the whole murder on him. That's the sick part. But let's take a look at the video you and Nick did right after this murder.
Hi, honey. I'm doing it. He's eating a brownie. But later he will be eating.
Did you hear that right? Nick said, murder, and then she recorded. Why? Because he knows. He knows the truth. She was a part of it. If you don't believe me, go look at it and replay it for yourself. He said it out of his mouth.
And the birthday candles. Oh my God, wait till you hear this one. Apparently Dee Dee only stopped putting the correct number on the cake after Gypsy turned 13 because that's when she started knocking years off. So, let me get this straight. At 13 years old, you were so brainwashed that when the candles stopped matching the age you thought you were, you just forgot how old you were? You didn't go, wait, Last year I was 12. Why does the cake say 10? You didn't ask. You didn't count the years you'd been alive. You just fully accepted that you were aging backwards like Benjamin Button because Mommy didn't put the right number on the Publix cake? I cannot. I literally cannot. And Bree sitting there nodding like, yes, girl, that makes total sense. People just don't get it. No, babe, we get it. We just don't believe it.
I think I know the reason Gypsy Rose posted this.
If the nurses or the doctors of this hospital is even looking at this right now, watching this video, this needs to be your highest priority. This is just as important as your badge, as your license. You do not leave this for people to find or whatever. Like, this is not a toy. This is medical equipment. And my mind is blown. Like, my mind is just blown, okay? I think I'm within my right to be upset. I really am. I think people need to have these conversations. Doctors, nurses, whatever, if you're watching, like, do not leave this for people to get. Like, it may be too late for me, but do better. Like, for real. Be fucking for real. Do better.
Then they move on to the why didn't you sue the doctors question that everyone's been screaming for years. And Gypsy's excuse is, get this, I was busy getting my GED in prison, and also statute of limitations, and also they're retired now, so what's the point? And also I have a baby now. Ma'am, you were in prison for 8 years. 8. You had nothing but time. And your stepmom, Christy, apparently called around and no lawyer would touch it. In what universe? This would have been the biggest medical malpractice case of the century. Children's Mercy Hospital, the unnecessary salivary gland surgery, the teeth. You're telling me not one single ambulance chaser in Missouri or Louisiana wanted that check? Either every lawyer in the Midwest suddenly grew a conscience the year you got locked up, or the medical records don't say what you've been selling. And we all know which one is more likely.
I think I upset her when I made this video the night before. Gypsy Rose Blanchard's in my comments again. This time she's asking if I have any common sense. Gypsy and I both actually spent about 8.5 years behind bars. I'm going to show you 2 clips of our experiences, and then maybe you can let me know who you think has common sense and who doesn't. Hold on, here's Gypsy's first.
I would be curious if anybody Gypsy has talked to feels they're getting the full story.
This is actually kind of the first time I've been honest. Besides being honest, my attorneys. Even that, I haven't been completely honest with them, so...
Because here's the thing. Munchausen's by proxy cases are hard to sue for when some of the illnesses were real. When tests came back abnormal. When there's a chromosome deletion. When doctors actually documented concerns and ran panels and didn't just blindly believe Dee. You can't fake a chromosome deletion, sweetie. You can fake symptoms, you can exaggerate, you can induce some things, but certain results, those are either real or they're not. And the way both Gypsy and Bree keep dancing around that fact is loud. It's giving, we tried guys, we really did, but everyone else failed me. No accountability, ever. It's always the co-authors, the publishers, the lawyers, the doctors, the media, the haters, the lighting. Everyone but the girl who's been caught in 47 different versions of the same story.
Okay, now it's my turn. Here's my clip.
Like spiders around. Oh. It's
What do you use? Heroin? What else?
PCP,
Anything else?
ecstasy, cocaine.
Gypsy, I was 22 in that video where I was working as a nurse behind bars, handing medications to people like you. When you were 22, you were planning the brutal unaliving of your mother. So who has the common sense? Just stop.
And the Dr. Phil interview versus the trial testimony versus the Lifetime doc versus the book versus the new book versus the TikTok lives. Pick a lane, babe. At this point, it's not even I was brainwashed. It's I was brainwashed into believing 7 completely different timelines depending on what narrative was getting me the most sympathy that week. I'm not saying she wasn't abused. I'm not saying Dee Dee wasn't a monster. But the level of selective memory and convenient amnesia this girl has is Olympic gold medal tier. And the worst part, she'll cry and play victim and say, people just want to hate me when we point it out. No, girl, we just want one consistent story. Just one. We're not asking for perfection. We're asking for coherence. Anyway, I'm gonna need a part 2 because there's literally 12 more lives to get through and my blood pressure can only take so much in one sitting. So tell me, did any of her explanations actually land for you? Or are we all collectively side-eyeing the same way? Drop it in the comments. I read every single one. Love you guys. I'll see you in the next one. Mwah.
All right, y'all, come a little bit closer because we need to talk about this coat. So Gypsy pops up in what she claims is a $129 winter jacket. And baby, the internet immediately said, from where? Because that's not a coat in your screenshot. And her video, baby, it is not the same coat. Let me explain something as a girl that grew up in New York City. And I know Saks Fifth Avenue quality when I see it. I know a down jacket. I know stitching that actually lines up. I know zippers that actually don't scream for help. And that jacket she's wearing, that wasn't Saks. That wasn't Macy's. And that wasn't even Old Navy's clearance aisle. That was absolutely given shin after 3 spins in the dryer. The coat she posted online, it was matte, structured, brown zipper pulls, clean lines. The coat she's wearing, it's shiny like a frying pan, wrinkled like it just survived its first fist fight, and zippers that look like it just came from a craft kit. Reddit had arrow diagrams, full FBI presentations like, this is not the same coat, no orange stitching, wrong hood, wrong hardware, wrong silhouette. Like, sis, the only thing matching is the color category. And I do mean category because not the actual color. And here's the thing, nobody cares if your jacket is from Shein. Live your life. Order 12 for $40. But don't stand here talking about this is the one I bought when the receipts are disrespecting us in HD.
Anyway, I'm exhausted just thinking about it. The whole thing is layers upon layers of people pointing fingers while holding the smoking gun behind their back. I need a nap. So tell me down below, what do you think about the prescription pad situation? Do you think Christy's been telling the truth this whole time? Or is this another case of the story changing depending on who's holding the camera? I'm dying to know your theories. And of course, let me know where you're watching from and what time it is, because I love living vicariously through your time zones. If you made it this far, you're my ride or die. Like this video if you want part 2, because trust me, there's more. Subscribe, turn on the bell, all the things. I love you guys so much. Mwah. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.